Welcome to Retire with Clarity. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, and I'm joined today by Stewart Fields and John Lawton. They are managing partners of OpenAir Advisors. John, good morning. It's great to see you.
Good morning. Good to see you again.
Thank you so much, Stewart. It's great to see you.
Yeah, glad to be back. Yes.
It's so nice to see you
Looking
back.
forward to it all.
I am too, because it's amazing. Just the response that you've had from the viewing audience with your shows has been really astronomical. I know that when we first went on the air, we knew it was going to do well, but it's really skyrocketed you to a totally different level, if you will. So again, thank you for providing such timely information, because people are really in need of information on how to retire comfortably and wanting to know that they have peace of mind. So John, let's talk a little bit about maybe someone that's come into the office recently. Perhaps we're interviewing other advisors and chose to work with you.
Yeah, we were actually, from our second show, we had someone call in, and they had a really unique situation, and that was they were potentially being laid off, and the company was offering them a package deal to say, rather than letting us lay you off, here is, money to see if you would like to basically retire rather than be laid off. And so that was a really fun and a really interesting situation. And what made that situation unique is the individual actually already wanted to retire and was technically ready to retire anyway.
Okay.
And part of their package was they were going to continue to get paid for the next 2 years. So whenever they came into the office, they were showing me the package, and obviously, I think anytime we're doing planning or anytime we're working with clients, the biggest answer or the biggest question that we answer is, can I retire? Am I going to be okay? And what was so great about the situation, it was, yes, you can retire. Oh, and you get to go earlier than you expected because of the situation. And there's a lot of people out there, and there's a lot of people that are changing jobs, and unfortunately, because of what's going on in the market, maybe they're not all in his same situation. But this was just a really unique opportunity for this individual to basically get to retire a couple of years early because of just what's going on.
Wow.
But it did take a full analysis, and it did take a full plan for us to be able to, with confidence, say, yes, you can go ahead and take this package deal and go ahead and retire.
That is amazing. Stewart, what about you? Anyone that you've helped recently?
Yes, I feel like more right now. I feel like a lot of people are getting second opinions, which is really nice. I feel like John and I have been talking about like how many people are coming in trying to say, am I doing the right thing? The world is changing, and everyone's just like, it's a good time. People are at home. People are spending their vacation budgets on remodeling their house.
Staycations, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're trying to get some work done at our house too, but we can't find any laborers because they're all tied up working on people's homes. And I was like, I bet it's because everyone's vacation budget's now their home budget.
Right.
Sure.
Well,
Yep.
Pools are so popular right now. It seems like everyone's putting in pools because, well, why not? If you're going to be home, you may as well enjoy swimming, right?
Yeah.
Yes. I've had two neighbors do the same thing.
You talk about that. It's really funny. That's been a common question I get from my clients here
Really?
recently. Can I buy an RV? And how much of my budget can be for RV? And it's been really interesting. We actually, my family bought one about a year ago.
Aww.
And from that, we've had some really great adventures over the summer because that's a safe place going to the state park.
Yes, that's awesome.
But our clients have, I've had probably, 3 or 4 over the last 6 months say, where are we going to, this is a large purchase. A, can I make this large purchase? Does it make sense? Does it fit within the plan? B, where's the money going to come from? And the good news is with our clients, they have a full financial plan.
Okay.
We have assets set aside for these purchases. And, some of these, one family I'm thinking about in particular, this wasn't part of, they weren't expecting to do this.
Okay.
But they have, their sons are in Portland and Seattle, and this just made a lot of sense for them. They were really excited, and they purchased theirs about a week ago.
Oh,
and
that's fantastic.
I believe if things are going right, I need to give them I'll shoot them a text here after the show and see where they are in their adventure. But
yes, tell them your host wants to know.
yeah, exactly. See where they are.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I love to hear stories like that because, again, memories are being made and people are thinking outside the box. I think 2020 did that for a lot of families. You were able to just take things in a totally different direction. Speaking of different directions, Stewart, I want to ask you, conceptually, how did the company come about? What was your dream and your idea with this when the three of you formed the company?
Yeah, it came about really naturally. You know, we wanted to put things together that made sense for the client. Going back to what we were just talking about, what's going on, have a lot of people who are finding the tools that we've put in place for them for years. They're finding it, and through technology, through our planning, we've got a lot of scenarios of what I call the sandbox. They all have 24/7 access to play around with their plan. They can't mess it up, and that's the number one fear. So, Stewart, John, I don't want to mess anything up. Yeah. And we always tell them it's read only. You know, they're not going to mess anything up. No. But what it does is stimulates questions. They can build in the RV. Well, I'm going to go build an RV. And hey, this didn't mess up my plan too much. Let me pick up the phone and call John and say, hey, John, can I buy this RV? That's the number one thing that provides me one of the most happiness is when people go buy something, because I tend to find it harder to get people to spend their money than it is in retirement. They're accumulating a lot of money and they're afraid to spend it. Yeah. So actually, I've got clients in North Carolina and Greensboro that I flew out to go see, and you know they're accumulating. I'm like, you're going to make your children, you know, independently wealthy. Is that your goal? And it might be, but their goal was like, Stewart, it was not my goal.
Yeah.
And so we left, and we talked first about a couple of things that they could do. And literally, when I land back in Dallas, he goes, hey, I need you to talk to my car salesperson to, you know, because I'm buying a car. And I was like, thank you. Like, really, they deserve it. They worked for Marriott for 40 years, and they were just fantastic people. So I was really glad that I left that meeting and got that phone call, you know, said, hey, we bought that car. But, you know, so we wanted to put the tools in place to have that communication with our clients. So, you know, I talked to John and Chris, like, what can we do better? Yeah. And there's so many things out there that, you know, because of my passion is helping people, and my passion is exploring. You know, I like to try a lot of things and vet a lot of things. Okay. So I think that's my strength. Is like there's a lot of tools out there that people aren't using, and a lot of, because it's implementation. And with our technology backgrounds and our implementation, we were able to bring a lot of things to the table that, you know, in my experience, I haven't seen a lot of firms do it. So we wanted to create, you know, an open platform, open architectural, open communication, open everything, and that's how we came up with the name OpenAir. And so me and him are both backpackers, hikers, and so fantastic. So again, it's just nothing is better than being out that fresh, you know, open air. So that's really kind of how everything, you know, came together.
That's right.
Oh, and you guys are doing so great, and I can't wait to see Chris back again. He's going to be here, I think, next week. So this is the perfect time for us to go ahead and open up the phone lines. Would you gentlemen agree?
That's right.
Okay. To the viewers at home, the phone lines are now open. That number to call is 844-333-6059. If you have questions about how to retire comfortably, or if you would like to make sure that your plan is the proper one that you currently have in place, or you need to have one designed from scratch, what you're offering today, we're offering, I should say, you're not offering this, what we're offering today is a complimentary portfolio review. The number to call is 844-333-6059. This offer is available to the first 10 callers only, so please don't miss the opportunity today. The number to call once again is 844-333-6059. We'll be right back after this very short commercial break.
How confident are you in your current financial plan? Do you know with certainty how the recent market volatility will affect your future hopes and dreams? How much are you paying in taxes? And how much are you losing to unnecessary high fees? You didn't work to save this money so that you could spend your time worried in retirement. Now is the time to take charge of your finances so you can feel confident about your future. Call in during the next 30 minutes of today's show only to set up an absolutely complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review that will result in your own customized written plan. This is a $999 value that we're giving away complimentary to the first 10 people who respond. We'll start with a full-blown analysis of what you already have by running a report to untangle how much you are currently paying in fees, how you're allocated for risk, and what it's costing to work with your current advisor. Next, we'll identify your goals. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Where do you want to go, and who do you hope to go there with? Is your current financial plan set up to get you there without mishap? Let's design a roadmap to create a financial plan you can follow with confidence. Get the piece that so many people are missing from their retirement. Find out how having a written plan can make a difference to your retirement dreams. Call now to schedule your complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review today.
Welcome back to Retire with Clarity. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, and I'm joined today by Stewart Fields and John Lawton. They're the managing partners of OpenAir Advisors. And gentlemen, obviously opening up the phone lines, going to the commercial break, and offering the complimentary portfolio review. Let's talk about why that is so important for someone to have done. John, in your opinion, why is that important?
Oh, I think, I think a lot of people, we start out and we're in the accumulation phase, or you start out and you start working and you start contributing to your 401k or whatever the options are, and you really are, we start out doing this on our own.
Sure.
In the past, the company did this for us. And so there were pensions and things like that where the responsibility was on someone else. It wasn't on you. And so we've come to this time period now where it's up to you to understand your overall financial situation and have to understand how to turn this lump sum of money into a monthly stream of income that hopefully you can't outlive. Mm-hmm. And so why is that plan important? Why do we do what we do? Why do we specialize in taking someone who is either 5 years from retirement, retiring, or just into retirement? We specialize there because that's where we can add value, where we can show you how to take that lump sum and turn it into an income, turn it into a stream of payments that you can't outlive.
Okay. So is it important to have a diversified stream of income buckets, if you will? Pulling it from different areas during retirement.
Well, diversification is never a bad thing. Let's always say that. But having a calculated plan is really the number one goal here, is making sure everything's working together. So being in Dallas, I've worked with a ton of people from AT&T, Verizon, ExxonMobil. We've got a lot of, we joke about pensions are dying, but we live in a town where there's still a lot of pensions, and I still see a fair amount of people who do have pensions. And they've got a lot of different options. How do I take this? Do I take the 100%? Do I take the lump sum? Right now we're seeing a lot of companies offering buyouts. These big Fortune 500 companies are trying to unleash the liability of these huge pension plans. So they're like, hey, not only we're trying to downsize, we're trying to empty our balance sheets. So we're seeing these incentive being offered on a daily basis.
Wow.
So we do see a fair amount of pensions being just where we live. Other parts of the country maybe not, but in Dallas we're very versed when it comes to income planning and diversifying it, because going back to earlier shows, where do you take the income from? Right. You've got your pensions. Right now the big 2021 thing to do is side gigs. We've got a lot of clients now retiring and coming up with gigs, and they're having, gig income, and they're having a lot of fun doing it. And sometimes just having that extra $1,000 a month, having that extra $10,000 a year makes and solves a lot of problems, even if they want to retire at 60 to 65, and that's really cool to see that. So I think that's really important, and because I know there's a lot of people out there that thinking, I don't want to work to 65.
Right.
And once we can help them and say, hey, you're working because you want to, not because you have to.
That's right.
You just see their shoulders just kind of, release the tension, and it's just really amazing. So we're doing a lot of that more than ever. It's just like, you know what, I don't think I can. I've got greeters, out there. They're just loving retirement, and diversifying that income, especially if for those early retirees when they talk about medical expenses. But I know a lot of people out there in those similar situations have similar questions, and we help people out on a daily, weekly basis when it comes to where's my income coming from? Should I look for other places? Should I take this pension? And I feel like we should have a whole different show on just pensions. I could talk about pensions and the different variables and different advanced strategies on there, so maybe we'll talk about that later in the show. But
sure.
Teachers, we work with a lot of teachers, and there's a lot of options there and how they take their income from that. So anyway.
Absolutely. But again, I'm glad that you brought up annuities, because there seems to be so many questions surrounding annuities. And of course, there was the commercial that the actor said he hated annuities, and you should too. So what annuity was he talking about, Stewart? Do you know out of the different ones? Would you, if you had to guess?
I believe I know what you're talking about. That is a famous commercial it's turned out to be, and it's 100% without the doubt a variable annuity.
The variable, okay.
When I even see, going back to reviews, when people come to see me, generally half the time, if not more, they have some sort of annuity that they put in the plan. And when they do, 90% of the time it's a variable annuity. And they go, well, Stewart, I've heard some things about this. And typically, the fees can be 2, 3, I've seen them at almost 5%. And I'm not joking. I mean, you know, and so everything was invented for a reason. If it was a bad product or a bad vehicle, it wouldn't be there.
Sure.
But it's finding out which vehicle solves your picture.
Yeah.
And so again, I don't like to say, annuities are all bad for everybody. A pension is an annuity. So no one's going to call their pension from AT&T a bad thing, right?
Right, exactly.
So that is an annuity. So it's structured a little bit differently. And there's lots of different types. So when they say all annuities are bad, it's a variable annuity. And half the time, I might agree with them. If 90%, variable annuities could be bad. There's small segment where it might make sense, but those were the annuities 10, 20 years ago that a lot of people still have today.
Yeah,
sure.
I actually had a client here recently that came in, and we were talking through some things, and her mother just actually passed away, and so she had an annuity, and the payments were now stopping. And so in that conversation, basically what she was saying is I would never consider an annuity for my overall financial situation, because I've seen with my mom, when she passed away, that money is now gone. And again, that's a specific type of annuity. That's what she purchased. And I didn't do the planning for the mom, so I wasn't there for that decision.
Right.
The point is there's a lot of ways for us to structure those types of things. Structure those types of payments. That is one way to structure them. And sorry, daughter, your mom didn't want the money to come to you, but she wanted to maximize the payment, so that's what we did, or that's what the other advisor did.
Sure.
When we're looking at her overall situation, does it fit for her?
Yeah.
Possibly, and everyone's different. Everyone's financial situation is different. She doesn't have any other. She has Social Security, but she doesn't have any other pension income, and so it may be a fit for her. But that remains to be seen so far. So there's a lot of ways for us to drive income from a portfolio. That's one of them.
Okay.
Yeah, and going back to kind of what we were both just saying, like it's really important to go into annuities or pensions is have that review. I mean, you bought it 5, 10, 20 years ago. Things have changed.
Sure.
I've helped a lot of people who who didn't decide to work with us, but they found out that policy or that decision I made 10 years ago, it's not making me as much money as I thought. It's cost me way more money than I thought. And we were able to give them the confidence to look and do something else. So, I mean, a lot of our phone calls are, hey, do I have one of those annuities that, the guy was talking about? Identify that. What am I paying? And they realize that there's a big opportunity cost of not picking up the phone, of not talking to John and saying, hey, is this what I have? And if so, is it too late? Can I fix it? Most of the time it's fixable. That's the good news of being here today is, please let us know how we can review your portfolio, how we can go through the whole thing and find out, do you have one of those? And basically, how to solve the puzzle, because everyone's got the pieces and it's our job to really kind of put it together. So going back to John's story, that's exactly what that is. People don't know what they have. They don't know their parents' plans, and working with our clients' kids is important to us.
Absolutely. This is the perfect time, gentlemen, for us to reopen the phone lines. Would you agree?
Yes.
To the viewers at home, the phone lines are now open. That number to call is 844-333-6059. What you're calling in for today is a complimentary portfolio review. Allow these gentlemen to take a look at what you currently have in place. If there's anything in your portfolio that you don't understand, it can be explained to you. And make sure that you're on the right path for a proper retirement. You've worked so hard all your years to get to the retirement phase. You deserve to have the retirement of your dreams. All you have to do is pick up the phone and call today, 844-333-6059. This offer is to the next 10 callers only. We'll be right back after this very short commercial break.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
Welcome back to Retire with Clarity. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, and I'm joined today by Stewart Fields and John Lawton. They are the managing partners of OpenAir Advisors. Gentlemen, a great show that we're having today, and I do want to spend some time in this segment talking a little bit about required minimum distributions. There's been some changes, if you will, regarding the age when you're supposed to be taking those. Can we talk a little bit about that today?
Sure.
Okay.
No, I think that's great. Required minimum distributions are a way for us to distribute the IRA so that money, the money that's inside a traditional IRA has never been taxed. And so the required minimum distribution is there so that money is distributed and then taxed.
Okay.
The number used to be 70 and a half is when you would actually start taking the income, what was it, June 1st following the year you turned 70 and a half. That's no longer the time period. Now it's 72.
Okay.
And they've actually reduced the amount that you actually take from a required minimum distribution. So the income that you're required to take is lower. We work with a lot of retirees that have these nest eggs that maybe they have pensions, or maybe they're able to live on Social Security. Maybe their expenses are just very low, but they have these large sums of money inside their IRA, and they don't want to take the income from that portfolio.
Right. Maybe they don't need it right now.
They don't need it right now, or they're just really looking to leave that money on to their beneficiaries. They do have to take that required minimum distribution. It's something that's required every year.
Okay.
But if that's your goal, there are some plans. There's some things that we can do. If the goal is simply transferring the asset, let's look at other options. Look at ways for us to do that as tax efficiently as we can.
Okay. Okay.
Tax efficiently. That's going back to RMD. What was screaming out in the area where we live. A lot of people give to their church and schools and things like that. And we work with some clients who don't need that RMD, and they go, Stewart, I don't want to pay taxes on it. Like I'm paying taxes on money I don't need. It's going into a different account, which without proper planning is getting taxed again.
Yep. Sure.
So that's a different, story. But what they can do is they can actually take that RMD, that required minimum distribution, and send it directly to the organization, whether it's a church or school. And as long as it goes straight from the IRA to that organization, they don't pay any taxes on it. And so with the changes in charitable deductions and standard deductions, it's super important for you to look at, like if you're doing it, even if you're not doing the whole thing, and most of my clients aren't taking their whole RMD and sending it over, but maybe a percentage of it, which is equaling their annual amount. That's a really good easy way to save a lot of money when it comes to taxes.
If you're taking RMDs, and you're taking and you're giving money to some sort of a charity, you can do that. There's a qualified way to do that that allows you to save in taxes.
Okay.
So,
gentlemen, what happens if someone is just really busy and they forget to take their RMD? Stewart?
That's one of the biggest penalties out there, and it's still a 50% penalty. So if you don't of the distribution that you missed,
50%.
Yeah, it's very very steep. So why do people not take it? Well, because they didn't need it, or maybe they weren't keeping up with the laws. We know last year in 2020, you didn't have to take an RMD. That was part of some of the Secure Act stuff that came out. So, or people that delayed it until April 1st the following year and forgot that, well, since I postponed last year's, I got to take two this year. So a lot of people will forget to take that second one by 12/31, and so then next thing they know, they get hit with a 50% penalty, and they're calling their advisor saying, "Hey, what's going on?" So that's usually communication when something that happens, or maybe they're doing it themselves and they're not familiar with the changes. But that could be a very costly mistake if you don't take that required amount.
Are there reminders that come out to tell people when it's time to take it?
If you're one of our clients?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, obviously, if you're not working with OpenAir advisors, you should be, because you would send out those reminders, correct?
Well, or we would just do it. And I think one aspect of a required minimum distributions that I think is really important is you may have multiple buckets of money. Your required minimum distribution is a payment that's required from the total. And so one of the things that we do inside our tax planning, again, it's the same as any other income plan, is deciding which bucket we're going to pull from.
Okay.
Most folks, without proper planning, or if they're just, if they're doing it themselves, most of the time what you'll see is they're just taking in equal parts from each different account. That may not be the best way to do it. We may be able to save you in taxes by doing it another way.
Sure.
We may be able to help you just in a better portfolio management structure, being able to take those from a more beneficial account. So when we're looking at that whole picture, when we're looking at that whole plan, that's part of what we're going to look at. But I would say if you're concerned about taking your required minimum distribution, if you're concerned about taxes on that required minimum distribution, or you just don't know how to calculate it, give us a call and we'll walk you through that. But absolutely, with our firm, it's not a reminder, we just do it. And we would talk through it with our clients, and we'd make sure that we do it in the most efficient way. I would go back to the plan. It's something that we do it in the plan first.
Okay.
So that way you have a guideline for what we're going to do, and then we implement it.
Okay. Okay.
But communication is important. I know Stewart was talking about communication earlier. With our clients, it's important with all of this, especially when we're taking distributions.
It's so important. I mean, it matters so much for a client, because if there's not communication, what happens at the end of the year? I ask someone who's having a second opinion, like, when are you taking your RMD? 9 times out of 10, it's between Thanksgiving and the New Year. And so if there's not good planning, what they're forced to do is sell some of their portfolio to give that RMD.
Yeah.
And if the market is down, they're kind of, you never want to sell an asset if you can when it's down. So I really think that involves a lot of communication on when and how you take the RMD.
And again, it comes down to the plan, the importance of working with a qualified financial advisor such as yourselves, fiduciaries, and having that plan put in place. Thank you, gentlemen, for another amazing show. To the viewers at home, the phone lines are once again now open, 844-333-6059. Thank you for spending time with us again this week. We look forward to seeing you back here next week. Be safe, be happy, be blessed, and keep those questions coming.